Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Is your prepping overboard? Have you thought about if you're making correct decisions? Are you panicking? Are you going overboard? Do you have enough? There are so many questions that we can feel ill at ease, uncertain. We're not really positive if we're making the right choices sometimes. Especially as Americans, it's simple to just have every single thing you could want. You can buy it all, you can order it online, you can do grocery pickup, you can have things brought right to your car at any store practically. And so it's simple to go on overload and have every single thing we could want. I was just counting up how many pairs of socks my grandchildren have. It's great to have extras and not have to worry about doing the laundry and having a pair of clean socks, but sometimes we go into overload. And don't even get me started with toys. It's so simple to find toys that look interesting, and of course you want to have them. And then as adults, it can go beyond that. Recently, one of my neighbors was bringing home an extra toilet. Someone gave it to him. He doesn't need it, but it seemed like too good to pass up. So he boxed it up. He doesn't even have a garage, and put it in his house. He's storing a spare toilet in his house. That's when we need to decide, are we prepping or are we hoarding? There's a huge difference, and we need to decide, are we stocking up on things that are actually useful, that we can make need of with the emergencies that are likely to happen to us? Those can be hard questions to deal with. Prepping is about having plenty of supplies. We want to think about the events and catastrophes and emergencies that could happen to us. Maybe we'll have a winter storm, a hurricane, a volcano, a forest fire, economic hardship. Someone in our family is sick. We have unforeseen medical bills, or the car breaks down. There are all kinds of things that can happen, and we want to be prepared to deal with those emergencies. Do we have enough food to see us through? Do we have enough water if it stops running? Do we have a way to heat our food and light our homes if the power goes out? There are all kinds of challenges that we can face, and those are what we want to prepare for. We want to know that we can provide the basic first aid supplies, the tools that we need, without going overboard. We want to have things that are truly useful, and not just because they seem like a good idea, might be handy one day. If we say too many yeses and not enough nos, we can end up having just so much stuff that we can't find the things that are useful for us, and it can actually hinder us in an emergency. We can't find what we need. We don't know if we have it. Maybe we end up buying it twice because we're not aware of where it is. We can't remember, and so then it isn't useful. So we want to really ponder, what are the things we need, where are we going to put them, and then how are we going to get them, because money is always a concern. We can strategically plan to provide the things that we need, but we also need to be careful that we're not going the other way, that we're turning into, say, hoarding, buying too much of something that you couldn't possibly use it up before it expires, or that you just couldn't ever use it at all. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but then when you actually got home and started thinking about it, maybe you can't even use it at all. And sometimes then people will say, well, I spent a lot of money on this, and so they don't want to pass it on, get rid of it, clean out the stuff that doesn't really matter to you, that can't really help you, that isn't meaningful. Then it just becomes clutter, and it can stand in the way of you actually being prepared. You are then overboard, that it becomes an impossible task to clean it out. So don't become too sentimental with things that aren't really useful and you don't really need. Look over the things, and it's okay to have lots of extra things, but make sure they're things you really want to hold on to, that are meaningful to you, and not just like every paper your kid ever did in school, or every picture you ever took. Some of them are duplicates, some of them are crummy, some of them are people you don't even remember. So do you see how you can go overboard, and then we don't have things that are meaningful to us, and then we may have such a huge stack of things we can't even begin to go through it. Then we can't find the things that we need, and we then don't also have the space to provide the things that we actually do want. Don't fall into the trap of compulsive shopping, impulse buying of things that you think look interesting and great. Maybe they're on sale, or your neighbor has one. It doesn't mean that you need it. I know something that I try to think about is when I want to buy something, say on Amazon, I put it in the cart and I make myself wait and see if I still really want it. You can do that in the grocery store, or any store for that matter. Put something in your cart, keep walking around the store, and then look everything over in your cart before you check out. See if those are things you really need. I've tried to teach that to my grandchildren too. I'll tell them, okay, you can choose 2 things. And then they'll say, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. But then I'll keep going around the store and they'll see something else and I'll say, oh, and they'll say, that looks good. And I'll say, well, here are the 2 things. Do you want this more than one of those? And then they'll start to have to make decisions. And that is something we need to learn. It's important that we don't just say yes to everything because we end up with too many things. We also spend too much money. We need to reserve our money for the things we really need, especially if overspending is a problem. You want to make sure that you're never going into debt over prepping supplies, and you should try never to go into debt over anything if possible. It's not always possible to never go into debt, but we want to make sure that we're spending our dollars wisely. Save up for things that you want. Say charge things, then you are paying extra for them. And if you save the money away, then you're earning interest on it. So then your money is growing for you rather than your debt is growing. You don't know how you're going to pay it off. Try to spend your money wisely on things that you really need and tell yourself no sometimes so that you can reserve that money for things we really want in the future. Realistically, look over the space that you have. Even if you want extra prepping supplies, if you live in a tiny place or there just isn't room, you can't keep buying more. You don't want to have a cluttered world. If you have a cluttered world, a cluttered home, that leads to a cluttered mind, and that doesn't give you the ability to think straight when you need to. So try to limit where you can put your prepping supplies. Maybe have a pantry for your food. Maybe have a shelf for your extra supplies. Maybe have a spot under the bed where you want to put extra things. Somewhere in your home that you know where it is and you can put those things there. And then you remember where all your supplies are. You want to keep track of your supplies so that you use, rotate, and replace them. If you just randomly keep buying things and shoving them in every nook and cranny, you may never be able to find those things again when you need them. And that is one of the reasons people end up overspending. They buy it again because they can't find it. Things aren't useful to you if you don't know where they are, how to use them, and you actually use them in a reasonable amount of time. There's a fine line between stocking up and stocking away things we might want in the future. So try to figure out the difference every time you pick up something. Look it over and think, how am I really going to use it? Some items can actually be used for more than one purpose. For example, maybe you pick up some baking soda. You can use it for baking, use it for cleaning, you can use it to brush your teeth. So that would be a great item to have. The more ways you know how to use the things you have, the more things you actually have. Determine what your family realistically needs for a period of time. Make a plan, make a budget to provide those things, and then stay the course with your plan. Don't go into a panic because you see something on the news that makes you worried that I need to go get more stuff. Because if you have a plan and you're stocking up a little at a time, then you don't need to panic when you see the news, something that is scary. We can say, oh, that's frightening, that's alarming, but I am prepared because I already have this, this, and this, and I have a plan of how to use those things and what to do if something happens. For example, beef shortages, screw worm, or whatever the worm is that now, I don't even know, some worm in beef. But we've already had rising prices, and so the newest thing that terrifies us about there won't be any beef or it'll be too expensive. Over time, you buy a little bit extra, put it in your freezer, can it if that's something you do. Buy a few cans of food. Look for foods that include beef. Stock up on some of those. So then you don't have to go into a panic when you read something in the news because you can think, how have I already planned to cope with this issue? and probably you'll find out that you have those items on hand already, so you don't need to panic. Is your prepping overboard? Do you have enough? Do you know how to use your things? Do you know where they are? The next step you might want to take is to go through those items, organize them, and maybe take an inventory so that you really know what you already have before you go out to the store and try to buy something else. Prepping is something that's slow and steady, a little at a time. It's not something that you can buy all at once. You need to get a little at a time. It's a lifestyle choice, and as you build your stockpile, you think about things that you need, you replenish the things that you use, and then you use, rotate, replace. Keep track of those things and practice using the items that maybe would be for emergency situations, like water filters or emergency stoves or how to build a campfire. Try some of these things over time so that you keep your skills sharp. Read over your first aid manual so that you're fresh in your mind what to do, and then have confidence that you are doing the best you can and you'll be able to face whatever comes your way. Leave it in the comments below. How do you avoid going overboard with your prepping so that you can stay calm and confident? I hope you'll like my video, share it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.